Every day I wake up is another blessing. Every day I wake up is another blessing. Thankful every second, getting God's protection. I lost connection in the desert, I had no reception. But in that time alone, I probably learned 1,000 lessons. I used my time for introspection and some self-reflection, and analyzed a couple ways to conquer my depression. Everything doesn't happen the way we plan it to, but if we harvest energy, then we can plan it too. So take a look in my eyes, that's where the story lies. I'm telling truth, and that isn't often glorified. I'm showing up, fully present in the moment, realizing self-doubt is my only opponent. So now I'm focused and rolling, the energy is flowing, hoping I stay zoning and my catalog keeps growing. That's the motive, and I'm devoted. My destiny awaits, and I'm not going unnoticed.
Wake up every morning and respect the blessings. Yeah, we made it out, you know that this was destined. Death, pain, scars, love and living reckless. Made it through the storm, yeah, that trip was hectic. Wake up every morning and respect the blessings. Yeah, we made it out, you know that this was destined. Death, pain, scars, love and living reckless. Made it through the storm, yeah, that trip was hectic.
I won't lie to you, baby, I took some summers off, but now I'm back at work trying to cover summer's cost. Had a couple battles, some were won and some were lost, but I fought for my life, I had no other choice. I feel grateful that God gave me another chance, but I don't understand, I still don't fully understand. Lessons learned and feathers earned. You don't think it's possible until it's your turn. Now we fight like we got nothing left to lose. No one else on earth has been in our shoes. Some will consider it paying our dues, but now we rock these battle scars like tattoos.
Wake up every morning and respect the blessings. Yeah, we made it out, you know that this was destined. Death, pain, scars, love and living reckless. Made it through the storm, yeah, that trip was hectic. Wake up every morning and respect the blessings. Yeah, we made it out, you know that this was destined. Death, pain, scars, love and living reckless. Made it through the storm, yeah, that trip was hectic. Wake up every morning and respect the blessings. Yeah, we made it out, you know that this was destined. Death, pain, scars, love and living reckless. Made it through the storm, yeah, that trip was hectic.
That should be it, bro.
Hello? There we go. That should work, right? I think. I'm back. Only for a little bit, though. Uh-oh. At least, blah, 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 data, this, stamina, I don't know what that means. Get notifications here. Alright, we're not gonna be on here for long, because I completely forgot that there was a Hype It Up today. Alright, so... do some reactions, and then we'll come back on after the Hype It Up show. that sucks. I can't believe I forgot. It was Tuesday. I need to get Diablo 4 for the PC, bro. PS4 is pissing me off. What's this? Fuck out of here with that. Alright, let's get a couple reacts in before 6 o'clock. Alright. We got a whole... Actually, let's watch the Diablo stuff real quick. That way we'll be ready when we get back on. Alright. I think I'm set. Okie dokie. Make sure that
Season 1.
Yep, I can hear it. Alright, so Diablo 4, we know we've watched videos by him before. I think we watched some last week as well. Season 1, which we will be playing tonight after the Hype It Up show. So remember, we're gonna stop we're gonna do a hard stop at 6. Go watch the Hype It Up show. I'll be in the chat on the Whadafunk channel. But yeah, Diablo 4. Talking about season 1 classes. Which one's the best to play? Thinking of going rogue for season 1. Thinking of going rogue. I don't know. I've been seeing some cool stuff. I did say I would still I'll stick with my main for season 1 and then maybe do something different for season 2. But I don't know. We'll see what happens. How I feel tonight when we start up the game. But yeah, let's see what he got to say about the best and worst classes for season 1.
Season 1 is here. You want to know what class to play. I'm going to keep it short and sweet and save you some time.
All right.
First, if you want to know what I'm playing, I decided I hate living. So I'm going to be playing Necromancer in Season 1, even with the damage reduction nerfs. And I'm going to be playing Hardcore, and I'm going to be playing a Minion Thorn type of Necromancer build. I know it sounds stupid. If you want to watch me suffer, I will have my live stream pinned in the comment as well as the description. Come on by and enjoy the misery. With all that being said, let's talk about the real winners and losers when it comes to picking your class. Now, there's a few things we need to keep in mind when we are talking about what class to play. First and foremost, the new patch notes. Now, if we go down and we actually look at the class patch notes, I'm not going to go through all this again, but I have already covered this. If you look at...
Yeah, I saw his video for that, but that joint was like 40-something minutes, and I wasn't watching 40-something minutes about everybody's thing. So, yeah, we're just going to watch this.
What they changed when it comes to the actual classes. Some of the classes did better than the others. Barbarian got a pretty big nerf. Sorcerer got put into the dirt even though they were already in the dirt. Damn. Necromancer got a buff to some minions and a nerf to Bone Spear. But Druid and Rogue came out smelling pretty good. They actually got the most minimal nerfs. Yes, Rogue got a Siphoning Strike nerf. So the rest of it seems fine. No and then buffs. Druid's main tornado build is still viable. So if you really want super ultra in-game, Druid's still perfectly fine for this. And if you want to play something fast and fun from the beginning, Rogue is still perfectly fine for this as of the patch notes. So that means right off the bat, if you're wanting to play something meta and good, basically there are two classes people are considering, the Druid and the Rogue. These are your two primary obvious picks as of currently.
So we're going to be seeing
now you might be wondering, well, that's great, but that's not even half the classes in the game. What about the other ones? What if I'm thinking about playing the other classes? Well, Bone Spear Necro got nerfed, so if you want to play Bone Spear Necro, it is factually worse than it was. However, it is still completely viable. People are still doing an absolute ton damage of it. Yes, it was a massive nerf. We're talking half or something, okay? You can still kill Uber Lilith. You can still push Nightmare Tier Dungeons, etc. Here's the problem with it. The damage reduction nerfs from the patch notes and Necromancer not having much mobility, meaning not much avoidance, means you're going to really need to be careful if you decide to play Necromancer. Sorcerer has basically the same problem, okay, which is extremely squishy. Sorcerer is basically not a class as of the moment. They have a really cool cage tarts, which is the next part of this we're going to talk about, all right? But they got a pretty hard nerf. Now, Barbarian is still the next part of this, really not a problem. really need to be careful. Not having much mobility, meaning not much avoidance, means you're going to really need to be careful if you decide to play Necromancer. Sorcerer has basically the same problem, okay, which is extremely squishy. Sorcerer is basically not a class as of the moment. They have a really cool caged hearts, which is the next part of this we're going to talk about, all right? But they got a pretty hard nerf. Now, Barbarian is still totally viable. I'd say it's the middle one. I'd say it'd probably go like Druid best in game, Rogue best early, Barbarian's kind of the middle, does all right, and then Necromancer probably following Barbarian, followed by Sorcerer after like 18 levels.
Sorcerer, Wizard is usually
that's
like
kind of my breakdown. If you just want a quick like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5,
like,
it
nope,
probably look
not
like
this
that.
one.
But Barbarian's still viable. Hoda had a major bug. So if you were playing the Hammer of the Ancients build on Barbarian and you were just slamming, one-shotting things and doing like 60 million damage, etc., the screenshots you see, that was a bug and it's been fixed. So a Hammer of the Ancients is going to feel factually worse. However, from what I'm seeing, they still seem totally viable. For instance, they got some buffs to things like double swing, rupture, and what have you. But if we want to do justice to thinking about what class we should play, we are going to need to look at the Malignant Hearts. Keep in mind there are 4 different types. There's the Vicious, Brutal, Devious, and Wrathful, meaning orange, blue, purple, and then this is a super-powered one that goes in any of the sockets. There's corresponding jewelry for each one of these colors, so depending upon what you decide to run, which type of hearts, that is going to change maybe the type of build you do. Now, we can actually scroll down and see what these hearts are going to actually do. So if we look at these, I'm going to kind of skip through the Jimro ones because there's 32 of these, but I think the way to look at this is look at the most fun one, which is Wrathful. So Wrathful is the super one for each class. You can kind of look at the Wrathful for each of these classes and basically see what you're aiming to acquire in terms of the super heart and use that to decide which one of the ones sounds the most fun for you and if you want to do it. Now, Barbarian has a incoming damage, has a chance of being ignored, instead healing you, Wrathful. So they get a defensive version of the Wrathful, which could actually be quite good considering that defensives are heavily nerfed going into Season 1. So if what you want is to be a little bit more tanky, maybe you want to do a Thorn build, then maybe the Barbarian. If we look at the Druid here, this is a... how to put this? This is a counter to CC. So if what you absolutely hate is the fact that you get frozen, feared, knocked down, etc., that's what their super does. When you're hit by a stun, freeze, or knockdown effect, there's a 40 to 60 chance to automatically activate Grizzly Rage for 3 seconds. This could actually be quite good because not only does it counter it, but Grizzly Rage itself, okay, is going to give you unstoppable as well as give you massively increased damage for things like rampaging werebeast, etc., the werewolf ones, and for the storm tornado build. So if you want to do like a shape-shifting werewolf tornado build, this fits in very well, which also happens to be probably the strongest build. So Druid did pretty good in terms of the caged hearts. Necromancer, I think, is one that's kind of go under the radar a little bit. This is why I'm playing a Necromancer minion build. Each minion drains 1 to 2 essence per second, but deals 50 to 75% increased damage. With no minions, this instead applies to you and drains 5 essence per second. So even if you're not doing a minion build, you're going to get a massive ramping damage modifier. Okay, 50 to 75%. This is just across all damage in its entirety. So for that reason, Necromancer's damage is about to go woo, which is going to be a fun mechanic, in my personal opinion, from their Wrathful Super. So if that sounds interesting, then you're going to go Necromancer. Now, if you look at Rogue here, their Wrathful has a 5 to 15% chance to apply all imbuement effects at 40 or 50% of the normal potency. This is just your attacks, not your basic attacks. So all attacks. So if you want to be able to poison, shadow imbue, code enchantment, etc., if the consistent flurry of attacks and constantly having all of this ramping imbuement poison type of effects, you know, code effects, shadow effects, if that sounds fun for you and the RNG of that sounds fun for you, then you're going to want to go Rogue. I actually think Rogue's going to be pretty good. This is actually a pretty good cage chart as well. So I think Rogue is right up there with Druid. I think it goes Druid and Rogue. If I had to pick like the top 2, I think that's what it is. And then we almost don't have to read the Sorcerer run because again, it's a Sorcerer class, but let's do it anyway. Core skills that launch a projectile consume all of your mana. For every 45 to 35 extra mana consumed, you launch an additional projectile and the damage is increased by 3 to 5%. So you can see 3 to 5%, not a massive increase, okay, but you get an additional projectile. Meaning if you are shooting like Frozen Orb, you shoot 1 and you have 135 extra mana. then you're shooting 3 more extra one of these. It basically makes Sorcerer a little bit more bursty. This seems like kind of a fun mechanic, but you have to have the mana to do it, meaning that you're going to have to build good mana generation before this actually does anything. Whereas a lot of these other ones, like this is just, you just have to attack. Rogues is it's not how much essence you have or whatever, you just have to attack, okay? Necromancers is drained per second based upon essence, so you're going to be lower on
too
essence.
far in, though,
and then
John.
the
You
druids
can't
just
switch up
happens,
now.
and the barbs just
You gotta
happens.
go
That's
ahead
why
and
I
finish
like
up
these ones a
everything
little
with
bit
that
more
one,
because
and
it's
that's
something
when
that just
we can
happens. So how
start
does that
another one.
actually influence our class decision? If you're asking me, Druid number 1, Rogue number 2, Barbarian
Let's
number
go,
3, right next to
Druid.
Necromancer number 4. And this is mostly because Barbarian's going to be a lot
Druid
tankier in a
main,
season where we need
baby.
tank stats. Otherwise, the Necromancer would probably take 3 and then Barbarian 4.
Tanky.
And then Sorcerer is like number 9, somewhere between like number 5 would be an elite minion. Number 6 would be, you know, a weaker elite minion. Number 7 and 8 would be just normal mobs. And then number 9 would be your character Sorcerer. So that's how I feel about classes currently at the moment. Again, I'm going to be playing the
some regular mobs
Thorn
and then sorcerer,
minion
yo.
build, basically. It's going to be terrible, and I'm going to
Yeah,
love
you
every
should.
second of it. So come
Do
by the
it,
live
bro.
streams here. I will be live just after the posting of this video. And if you notice, there's a Twitter link too. I can't tell you yet, but there's something big coming on my Twitter as of
Oh, word.
later today. That is actually
crazy.
a
I
big
don't know how
announcement,
old
and
this
it's for you
video
guys.
is, so
So
that's-
with that
that's
being said,
probably
love you
coming
all. See ya on the live streams. I've been playing Season 1 for 6 hours.
Whoa. Oh yeah, I forgot I have these in what's it called? So it's gonna be like 4 of these back to back. From DM just for me to catch up on Diablo news before I start season 1. So he's going. This is a short one though. So this is on why he loves and hates season 1 so far. Let's go, DM.
I've been playing Season 1 for 6 hours straight. This is going to be my first impressions on so far how I have felt about it. Couple things to keep in mind. I am playing hardcore and I am playing solo,
he said he was
and
playing
I am
hardcore.
not min-maxing any build. I specifically don't really know anything about the minion build. I decided I want to do Thorns and I want to do Minion, and I want to try
Alright.
out the new Bloodlance aspect and try
Yeah, I
out the
know
new
nothing of
Caged Hearts, etc.
Necromancer
So I'm
either.
kind of going into it from a fresh perspective, much like I did when the game actually originally launched. Now, I want to say first of all, and I'll go into my reasons why, but
those
this has been
things?
more fun
Yeah,
in Season
inventory.
1 than I expected. It
Okay.
actually was quite enjoyable. The reason for this is I don't know if this is just a Necromancer thing or not, but the Caged Hearts, even the ones you get early, actually feel pretty good. Surprisingly good, and I will give you one such example now. So the new hearts I have do multiple things, but one of the ones I have automatically cast whatever is on my corpse bar. For instance, it actually counts Raised Skeleton as one, and it counts Corpse Tendrils as one. What's amazing about this is it has a completely separate cooldown and spam than the actual
So
one I
it
have. You
just-
can see Corpse Tendrils is actually proccing very often.
That's
the way this
cool.
actually works is it goes left to right. So if I have Corpse Tendrils here, and then I have Corpse Explosion here, it's actually going to do the one I want here first, and then it will do this one if this one is currently on cooldown, okay? Now, Raised Skeleton itself actually works with this too, which is very surprising. So if I go here
But it's
and I put in
different for
Decrepify,
everyone,
lose all my
right?
minions, okay,
Or
and
is
then I
this
put
one of the
minions
one that
back
works for
right
everybody?
on the bar here, now I have no minions. But watch what happens. It is actually a fairly intelligent Caged Heart. And if you're wondering what's doing this, it's this one right here. Vicious Heart, walking near corpses automatically
Yeah,
activates an
Necromancer
equipped
on-
corpse skill. With summoning, this is a summoning skill, not just a corpse skill, but it's smart enough to know exactly that this is also should basically be a corpse skill. So watch what happens here. You kill it. It summons the minion, and it jump starts to know that we should be doing skeleton as the priority. So it's going to automatically summon my minions back. Now, you might be thinking, okay, well, this is nice. You don't have to spam this as well. But it actually gets kind of better, because what I'm doing here is with my skeleton mages, each time a bones mage dies from its own attack, they leave behind a corpse and fortify you. So my bone mages are killing themselves, leaving a corpse, automatically being resummoned, which fortifies me again. So I'm getting this additional
The
kinky
hell?
bit, which is actually really awesome. What's more hilarious about this is when you have at least 4 enemies near you, you gain an aura that automatically curses surrounding enemies with Decrepify. So I have Decrepify, but I don't even need it on my bar because it is automatically casting this when I'm surrounded by minions.
I'm about to play
So
Necro.
here we go. Here's some minions. I'm going to jump off and get near them.
Oh, you about
And
to
now you can
show-
see there's a bunch of minions around me, and now it's casting Decrepify. Well, the cool
Okay.
thing about this is, let's say I go ahead and decide I'm going to use Blood Mist, right? Let's get Blood Mist on the bar here. Let's get Blood Mist on the bar. There we go. When I use this, my cooldown actually starts going down as well from proccing damage. The reason for this is, if you look at my Decrepify, I have it spec'd where enemies hit while afflicted with Decrepify have a 15% chance to reduce your active cooldown. Now, you might be thinking, okay, that's kind of cool, not too big of a deal. But then you have to remember that this actually has the automatic casting from things like Corpse Explosion as well. So if I am in a Blood Mist and I'm near, it is still going to cast and explode corpses. What this actually means for me is that once we have the boots that makes it where the Blood Mist explosion is at... I actually just lost my hardcore character while trying to explain this to you.
Oh, that did not just happen. What level was he on? Oh shit! What happened though?
The boots that makes it where the Blood Mist explosion is at.
Oh, he was right in the path of the explosion after the death. Bro. But he was at full health. That thing completely took him out?
The boots that makes it where the Blood Mist explosion is at... I actually just lost my Blood Mist explosion is at... I actually just
he got hit by the fireballs and then the explosion. Level 32 hardcore gone completely. Damn. That's messed up.
My hardcore character, while trying to explain this to you, I changed my mind. I hate this season. We just watched...
Bro. Oh, man. That's crazy. That he was playing for 6 hours. Got to level 32 and was doing an explanation video and lost his character. That's messed up. Alright, what's this one? Everything you need to know for Campfire Chat. So Campfire Chat is the Diablo 4 update video live streams that they do. So I guess he's just giving us the recap of what they talked about. Let's see what's going on.
We just watched the entirety of this dev live stream, or it's their campfire chat is what they call it. And this is basically their emergency session of discussing the latest patch that was very poorly received by the community. So I am going to break down all of the things they talked about. It's actually a significant list of things that they talked about, and I'm going to try to break this down as quickly as possible so that way you can save you as much time. You don't have to watch the whole thing. Now, there was a lot of like ho-humming about some questions. Those types of questions were like, that were non-answers that sort of were skirts around, or they're like the very near future stuff. I'm just going to say soon TM, basically, instead of having to explain their thought process and everything about it. There was a lot of dodges. Okay, the ones that are very important, however, that the ones that are like they actually gave us either timelines or full answers or new stuff, I'm going to do first. So if that's what you care about, we're going to start with that first. Okay, with that being said, Nightmare Dungeons are the biggest change out of this whole thing. So the tier 100 that is currently is going to be moved down to a difficulty that is akin to tier 70 that we currently have. So if you are clearing tier 70 right now, once the changes, and this should be today, this is actually going to be a hot fix as of today. Though if you're clearing 70s, you're basically going to be able to clear 100s, or that is so the way they have explained it. The reason for this is they think that 100s basically after the nerfs are very difficult to accomplish, and they want you to actually be able to do this content, and instead of having tier 100s be all of the in-game content in the game, they instead explain that they want to add new content into the game in the future, not now, but in the future, they're going to be adding new content to the game instead. That is stuff to do at the end game. They don't want tier 100s to basically be GG, the game is over. So that was the first, biggest, most important thing they mentioned. The second thing they mentioned, monster density. Monster density, meaning how many monsters are actually in any given like circle area, the spawn of them, that is going to go up or they actually said substantially was their term, in both Nightmare Dungeons as well as Hell Tides. This will have 2 effects. It will increase the
haven't
rate at
done a
which
Hell
you're going to
Tide
be
yet.
getting basically cinders and hell tides as well as experience. And then obviously Nightmare Dungeons have really good experience in mobs, so increasing the density,
probably try
therefore
that too.
increases the experience gains. They did
I haven't done a
specifically
world
mention
boss
there are a
either.
couple spots on the overworld that are already very dense and a couple dungeons that are already extremely dense. The most dense spots won't be increased to be even better, but all the other places are basically going to be increased in terms of density in order to make basically the game more fun. Now, another side point is Barbarian and Sorcerers will actually be classes now in the game. They have said that they are planning to deal with the fact that Sorcerer is basically dog shit, but they said it in other terms. Barbarian, same deal. They got nerfed into the ground, so they're going to try to deal with that as well. Both those classes are supposed to have this patch, and they said later on, about an hour later after mentioning it, that sometime, and they said production would get mad at them if they told them exactly when, but basically in a week or 2, if you're a Barbarian or Sorcerer, you should be expecting
Okay, so they're fixing
some
your
love.
character in
now,
a week
inventory
or 2.
issues, they said they are aware that the new Malignant Hearts, etc., are filling up your inventory, etc., and that the Season 2 is still going to be when the gems now go as materials. So if you're expecting any sort of gems going into materials sooner, no, that's still Season 2, but they are adding an additional stash tab. They also mentioned trying to figure out ways to deal with the aspect, but that is a soon TM issue. However, elixirs will also stack to 99 stacks now. So you will actually have a little bit more available inventory in your sigil and elixir consumable inventory. So that's going to be a little bit easier there as well. That additional stash tab will be in patch 1.11. When that comes out, it will be a free addition to a stash tab. Now, moving on, they mentioned respecs. Respecs are going to be basically buffs for the player. It is going to be effectively approximately 40% cheaper. So you should expect that your character, if you want to have multiple builds, because they said the point is you're supposed to be able to have multiple builds and go between them, it should be 40% cheaper to be able to respec your character. There was no mention of quality of life in terms of actually clicking buttons to like respec all at the same time. Looks like they are still leaning on the Scroll of Amnesia, which is a seasonal mechanic, as far as my understanding goes, that will reset it once for free all at the same time. Someone did ask a question during the Q&A portion that's appropriate for this part of the conversation, which is armory and loadouts. They did mention a sort of soon TM type of answer on that. They're thinking about it, etc. So we have no actual factual information on that one. Now, the next most interesting one is experience. They said they're actually buffing experience directly after nerfing it. So they're going to rebuff experience.
They nerfed it?
Specifically for levels 50 to 100. They effectively
that's why it feels better that I'm leveling.
To be like a mainlined experience, like a major game, and then 50 to 100. They specifically said it feels like a job, and they do not want that. So they're trying to make people to be able to actually acquire level 100, even if they didn't use the term casual or anything. They kind of can't use those terms as a PR thing. But basically, it sounds like they want the average player, whatever term they use, to be able to acquire level 100. This is something I myself sent directly as feedback if you've seen my previous rage ranting type of video. So I think that is appropriate to buff the late game experience, even though they did just sort of nerf experience anyway. Now, moving on to the questions. This would be more of the Q&A portion from the chat. They did directly poll questions directly from the Twitch chat, and we could see those questions were there. The leaderboards, still coming Season 3, but they are going to add specific content for the leaderboards. It sounds like they basically want some sort of new content to also be associated with the leaderboards to have things to push, basically like a Nightmare Dungeon 2.0 or something. They didn't give any details at all. That's me speculating, but basically they want something that is a leaderboard equivalent in the future, Season 3, soon.tm. Someone asked a really good question about Uber Unique, saying that the drop rates are basically garbage, and they said another soon.tm in terms of buffing it. They basically ho-hummed and said, well, we want it to be super rare. We don't want everyone to have them. We don't want people to build around them. It should be a pinnacle item or whatever. But basically, at the same time, they recognize the drop rates are basically garbage, and at some point, they're going to buff those. When that is, how much that is, no information. Crowd control was a question mentioned. They said it's a problem, and in the future, they're going to do something about it. Again, no additional information there. Armory, we've already talked about the loadouts. They mentioned the times of barb and source changes are a couple weeks. Loot filters and target farming. They mentioned they like this idea. It's another soon.tm type of answer. So maybe, possibly, future, maybe. Moving on to one that's kind of encouraging. They actually answered the question about matchmaking and group finders for things like dungeons. It's another soon.tm potential type of answer. It's a maybe. Fixing skill issues. This is definitely they're going to do it. No timeline, but they're doing it, which is fixing skill issue problems like you've seen me with the corpse explosion death. They specifically called this one out. I'm sure they all had a laugh watching that one. And so they said they're going to try to fix some of these one-shot, in their terms, they use the word cheesy death mechanics. So they're going to be trying to fix some of that. They also mentioned that there was some bugs with things like the guy that runs forward in the Tusker charge and stuff that would basically one-shot you. Some of those were actually bugs and have been nerfed several times already. Moving on here, they said the cast time on dungeons. Somebody actually asked a question being like, basically, why the hell did you make it from 3 to 5 seconds on dungeons? Doesn't really make a lot of sense. Now, does it? And they kind of dodged that answer, to be fair. They didn't really give much of an answer. They said that, well, we added the reset dungeon button, which has nothing to do with the question, but they dodged the answer. Moving on here, what do we have next? Resistances got asked about again. That is still season 2. No new information there. One question that was answered, which is kind of interesting, is that somebody asked about campaign bosses like Astaroth, etc. These really interesting bosses that for the campaign seem quite good fights. They all sort of smiled and laughed at the same time when that question was brought up, and then said, we can't really talk about it. AKA, there's probably some kind of content in the future coming related to these type of things, maybe additional pinnacle bosses. It's another soon.tm. They mentioned the crashes, memory leaks, PS5 problems, etc. Known issues, and is actively being worked on currently. There was a crafting related question about what can we do with our gear once we have it, or acquiring new gear. It seems like Gode's the only thing we can really do with it. And it seemed like they leaked a little bit of maybe craftings coming in the future related to that. Now, Necro minions as well as Druid companions were asked about, asking like the viability of these type of things. They basically said there's room for improvement. And then as far as Druid companions go, they said they are exploring possibilities for that. Okay, don't know what that means, but that's how they answered that. Now, treasure goblins were the one they all seem to agree definitely has major room for improvement. And it sounds like they're going to add additional treasure goblins. Seems to be the breakdown of how they're...
I've killed like so many treasure goblins, and I haven't really got anything that good out of them. Like, can we put better loot in the treasure?
Going to fix that issue. So maybe a D3-esque type of thing, material goblin or something. No details, but it definitely seemed they are very positive in terms of adding that. Now, after all of these changes they mentioned, the other thing they did was send basically at the start of the stream and at the end of the stream, they did a full incumbency wrap up of basically, hey, we kind of fucked up. I'm paraphrasing here.
Okay.
Basically, they said that more or less they fucked up by nerfing without adding something in exchange. They didn't really say that the nerfs were wrong for the game and that they're going to revert them. But what they did say is that the nerfs feel terrible and basically make the game unfun, because while they took something away from all of you, they didn't offer anything at the same time. So they basically pledged to commit. They're going to do 2 things to fix this problem. Number 1 is going to be that the patch notes will be communicated before they come out to give time for the community feedback to sit on them in case they need to actually change anything before the patch comes out. This is basically if they released these patch notes earlier, people could have maybe like had a big pushback. Maybe they would have adjusted some of these numbers or something instead of retroactively having to go back and like revert stuff. Instead, they could see the patch note feedback before it actually comes out. One such example of this would be like the World Tier 3, World Tier 4 level requirements that then got hotfixed and removed out of once they saw the feedback of that was pretty negative. So basically, that's what they're planning to do in regards to that. Now, they also said one other thing is not only the communication, but they also said that what they want to do is add in basically buffs at the same time. So the only time that they're going to do these major nerfs, and they did say, what was the exact words they said? We hear you. We're never going to do this again. We will not remove the fun and power drastically ever again. And if we do major class changes, they're going to make alternatives as well. So to be honest, they seem very depressed when they came on the live stream. Seemed very bummed out. I can understand why. There was a lot of negative feedback around this patch. And basically their logic is, we can't really do another one of these, is what it seemed like. And if we have to make changes, we're only going to make changes by removing like things like vulnerability, but then offering something else you can actually build. They said that one of the mistakes basically they realized they made is nerfing everything like vulnerability, crit damage, etc. But they're still like the main metas. You still have to build these. They didn't remove the pigeonhole. They just made the pigeonhole that everyone's still pigeonholed in literally worse. That was basically addressed and acknowledged. That is more or less everything in that patch. Or that campfire chat that is notable, that is worth mentioning. Everything else was sort of some soon.tms, no promises, and, kind of explanations, further apologies, etc. That is all there is you really need to know.
There's currently Thanks. Thanks a lot. I think this is the last video for him. There's some other videos I want to watch, but we'll watch those when we come back after the Hype It Up show. Boop, boop. I think I might have... No. What time is it? No, I only got time enough for this one. Alright. So... I think this is about the drama about the stash. I think it's because of the gems or whatever. I don't know. I just put them in the stash. I don't care. Everybody's whining about gem tab, I guess. It'd be nice, but it's, I guess when I get further into endgame I'd care more, but
drama going around about the stash tabs. I'm going to let you know what the developer's response of that is, as well as my own personal opinion on this and my take on this, because people continue to ask me. Stash tabs have had an answer from the developers, both in what is going on and why we've only received one of these stash tabs. First, let's break down what the issue is. Season 1 is here, which means storage is even worse at the moment, because if you look, there's a whole bunch of cage starts. So by the time you get a few cage starts in your inventory, you get some gems, it takes up about half your inventory. These cage starts actually go into your standard inventory, and what you should be wanting in your standard inventory is basically your gear. So because of that, you are now having inventory issues even larger than what we had into the Eternal Realm. Well, as we all know, they added one additional stash tab into the last patch, or that's effectively what they're going to be add here. And we had a response as to why it's only one, because if you go to Twitter, it says, great to see you guys took what the community said to heart, but why are we only getting one extra stash tab? What is the problem to add a load of them, or even unlimited? Also, with the hearts added, that's another item to stack up. This is a very common message I'm seeing both in the live streams as well as YouTube comments. Like, what's the deal with only one stash tab? Well, this is Joseph. He was the gentleman on the far left during the campfire chat, and he actually responds to this issue with some details technical-wise. When we say they're expensive, what we mean is they create a lot of memory overhead. This is the interesting part. When you see another player in game, you load them and their entire stash filled with all their items.
Why? But why? Is that how the other get? I can't. What? Their stash? Why am I loading another person's entire stash?
Items. This is what teams are working.
Is that how it works? That's not how it works in WoW, is it? I'm not loading in with a whole nother person's freaking bank when I load in to the main city or something. I'm not loading everybody else's bank in, am I? Like, what is going on?
Working diligently to improve so we can have more ASAP. You scroll down and you continue, so that basically this isn't a storage concern, it's a performance concern. And then you can see Quinn.
Oh, is that why? Is that why? My when I was playing the beta that on my computer, that my memory was going crazy. That's why my memory was going crazy, and I bought it on the PS4 instead. Because for some reason you have it loaded in everybody's stash. That's nuts, bro.
Everyone's stash tabs. So I have very commonly been asked my opinion on this and how I feel about this once I see the response. And there are two things that I currently feel about this, and I'm going to break down my sort of nuanced approach to this. First and foremost, any communication from a dev, whether it is positive or negative, will always be appreciated by me, because sitting there in the dark, not knowing what's going on, for instance, not having stash tabs and barely getting one, you might think to yourself, maybe they're planning to monetize these. Maybe they don't consider it pay to win. They said there's never any pay to win, but they didn't say pay the convenience or anything. Maybe they're planning to sell these. This is a common point I've seen. So when they come out and say things like, hey, it's a performance concern is really what's going on, we know, okay, so it's not necessarily that they're trying to scoop monetization in, they just have some bad code or something related to the stash tab. Then there's the gamer side of me, that's the second part, that's the consumer. I paid for the game, and it is not my concern as to whether or not it is a development issue.
That part right there, son. That part right there.
Development issue is the developer's concern. So while this response will factually make me less annoyed because now I know what's going on, have some more empathy for the devs, and give them more time to fix the problem, which I'm sure is the response they are hoping for when they come out with a statement like this, I still feel exactly the same way that I did prior to the statement, which is it is still an issue in the game. We still need more stash tabs as soon as possible, and it is not my problem whether or not there is a coding side of that. It will give me more patience to fix the coding problem, but now I know the reason. That doesn't fix it doesn't fix what the actual problem is. It just gives me a reason as to why the problem exists. So for me, I still feel, yes, it is still an issue. Yes, I am willing to be more patient, but now that I know what's going on, and I appreciate the communication, but we all paid for the game. This is a quality of life issue that, in my opinion, is fairly significant. It takes time away from playing the actual game in order to manage menus, and people don't like menu simulators. They're in Diablo to kill monsters, and because of that, inventory management is annoying. So for me, no, it doesn't change my opinion. We still need stash tabs. It's somebody else's problem to fix this. And as far as I'm concerned, I appreciate the transparency, but I have no idea. Now I'm still in the same boat. Now that I know this is here, I don't actually know when more stash tabs are coming, and we're still kind of twiddling our thumbs wondering. So that's sort of how I feel about the stash tab issue. That's their response to it. It is a performance memory related issue. Why we load all of the characters' stashes when we see them, I don't know. I'm not a coder. I'm a gamer, and I want to game, and stash tabs are still in the middle of me trying to play the game. That's about it, except for one other thing I want to mention. I'm still giving away the Starforge PC. You can follow me on Twitter and get a chance at winning this. You can see right here the requirements in order to enter for this. If you choose to participate in this, you have a chance.
He was talking about that he had something on Twitter. Dang, man. It's crazy. Well, that's all the reactions for now. We gonna have to get the heck up off of here because the Hype It Up show is gonna start soon. Be sure to go to the Whadafunk channel. What is all this? Oh yeah, I'm dumb. And watch that. All right. See you over in that chat when we get over there, when that starts up. All right, and right after I'm gonna start it back up right after, bro. I'm gonna start it right up. We're gonna watch the rest of. I'll probably just go back into the game and I'll watch the other stuff later. But yeah, Hype It Up show, Whadafunk channel. Go over there now. It's gonna start soon. All right. Deuces. I'm gonna just end it. I'm not even gonna play the outro.